Chris Long here on the Rich Eisen Show. You saw up close the Brady-Belichick relationship for all those years. Is there any credence to the fact that Brady was never going back there, that there was just too long of a 20-year quarterback-coach relationship and he just needed to turn the page? Any truth
I don't
to
know.
That,
I mean, that would be speculation on my part. I think even if you played there, and I was only there a year, so
right.
Sometimes when I talk about the Pats, I feel even unqualified because there were guys that have been there a long, long time. But Tom was a great teammate, treated all the coaches with respect, including Bill. And, they had a relationship that was interesting, but, I don't think anybody really knows what that relationship is truly like. And seeing them together doing that top 100 thing was almost surreal in such a relaxed place, talking ball. And they certainly seem fine there, and I'm sure they're fine. But I think for Tom, it's a football decision as much as anything. When you looked at the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Bucks, those were the three teams that were being floated the most towards the end. The Patriots weren't competitive financially. The Chargers, I don't think, were competitive relative to the Bucks football-wise, and I don't think any of them were competitive football-wise relative to the Bucks and what he could do in Tampa with the weapons he has around him and that defense that I expect to be very good. So I think it was the right football move for him. The only wrench in there is that this is the most unique offseason of all time.
Right.
If you're changing systems, especially if you've been in one place 20 years, you might be the GOAT, and you might be inheriting O.J. Howard, Evans, Godwin, that defense that we talked about. But it's a change. And I know him and Bruce could FaceTime all day, but you got to execute. You got to have things like mini camp, OTAs. You got to have camp. And I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Interesting. So there's a lot to unpack there. Let me guess, go one by one. Seeing the relationship that you saw with Bill and Brady close up for that 1 year, to the point where you said it was kind of surreal to see them in a relaxed setting on the NFL 100 set. You should have tried just physically being across the table from them on for size to watch that whole thing go down. And it was the first segment of the entire series that we shot too. So just me sitting there seeing Belichick in the role of analyst for the first time, and there's Tom Brady next to him, and the two of them kind of talking about each other without actually having the conversation yet, because it was just a dynamic. Everyone was trying to feel out what it was like in a television setting. It was interesting. But how is that relationship, as you saw it work, different from, say, other quarterback coach relationships? And I know nobody else is Brady, nobody else is a GOAT. But how was it any different from what you witnessed in your career?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, if you were to compare it to, Drew Brees and Peyton, or, any of the other coach-quarterback pairings that have endured long periods, I'm sure they're going to have their bad days. And I think the lack of transparency with the media and the lack of willingness to show like the lighter side up in New England over the years leaves a lot of people assuming. And certainly one thing I appreciated about watching that offense was, like, if Bill got in the meeting, anybody could get, it on Monday morning. And that included like Tom or Jules or like the premier players, right down to the 53rd guy on the roster. And I thought that accountability was really refreshing and cool. And I know that, we can put the relationship under a microscope after 2 decades. I would challenge almost anybody to find me another pairing that could last 20 years. So I think we look at this thing and we say, what was wrong with the relationship? And we say it every year. But I would look at it from the other angle and say, listen, it's kind of a miracle that these guys were able to do what they were able to do for 20 years. And now you get to find out, for all the people who have been lusting for the opportunity to see who, what came first, chicken or the egg, who's more important. I don't know that you're going to be able to make an honest determination there. It's just such a unique situation, and people want to hold the Bill thing against them with the Browns record, but they were getting ready to leave town, and that's never good. I've seen what that's like firsthand in football with the Rams, and also coaches can grow, and I'm sure in 20 years somebody that brilliant, and I tell you what, he is absolutely brilliant. He can walk around the field and coach every position better than the position coach. I think that's what separates him. I think he's probably grown. I mean, the guy won 11 games with Matt Castle on the heels of a big disappointing Super Bowl loss. That's hard for teams to do to come back off of a Super Bowl run, let alone one like that, and then to lose your Super Bowl franchise quarterback in Tom Brady. I think Bill's battle tested, and the Pats have always treated things like a different opponent every week. They have to morph into something different. This year is going to be a totally different year for them. It's an opponent in and of itself.